Imagine a bunker outside Moscow. September 1983. A Soviet lieutenant colonel named Stanislav Petrov is on duty at a nuclear early warning station in the middle of the night. At 12:15 in the morning, his screen tells him 5 American intercontinental ballistic missiles have just been launched at the Soviet Union. Standard procedure is to alert his superiors immediately, who will alert the Politburo, who will launch retaliation. He has minutes to decide. He doesn't pass the alert up. He judges it a false alarm. He's right. The satellites were picking up sunlight glinting off high-altitude clouds. And the only reason we're still here, having this walk today, is that at the tightest moment of the Cold War arms race, the entire race between two superpowers to build the most terrifying weapons humanity had ever seen came down to one man in a room deciding whether to trust the machine or trust himself. Hold that image. Because the machine that put him in that room, it's still running, it just changed its name. The arms race creates situations where nobody can safely stop. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of Philosophy Walking. I'm Scott, and this is our walk through Korsha. We've been told for years that competition is good because it lowers prices, drives new ideas, and gives people more choices. But does it? And if it does, at what cost? Because here's the thing they don't tell you when they sell you on competition. Competition by itself has no conscience. It doesn't know what it's competing for. It doesn't ask whether the game is worth playing. It just runs. And whatever you point it at, it will run harder in that direction until something stops it. That's not a bug. That's the whole design. So if you point competition at making better bread, great, you get better bread. But if you point it at cutting costs on a river nobody owns, you get a poisoned river. Same engine, different target. And nobody inside the system is asking whether the target is right, because asking that question is how you lose. And that just assumes competition in business. But for humanity in general, is it really good? Because it's not just companies that compete, it's individuals, nations, and groups of nations. And at those scales, we're talking the effects or externalities of competition that drive wars, human-caused climate change and heating, famines, droughts, and more. Not that some of those things, other than war, would exist without us, but we certainly exacerbate them. Here's one example, AI. They say that AI can solve all our problems, while at the same time, some of the very researchers building it warn it has the ability to make us extinct. And I don't mean in a science fiction robots with guns way. I mean it in a much more boring, much more likely way. Build a system smarter than us, hand it a goal, and if we get the goal even slightly wrong, and we have never once in the history of writing rules gotten a rule exactly right, that system optimizes for what we said instead of what we meant at a speed we can't catch up to. The people saying this aren't cranks. They're the ones running the labs. Some of them have quit those labs to warn about it. Think about that. It should stop you cold. Do the perceived benefits, and that's what they are, perceived, because at this point, AI has fixed or cured very little, and most of what it's done is make some rich guys richer. Do the perceived benefits outweigh the harms of the technology? And if they don't, why are we hurling ourselves and the world to the point of our own potential extinction? We're told we have to continue with AI advancement because we're in an AI arms race, and we can't trust competing nations to pull the brakes even if we pull them ourselves. Hear that last line again? We can't stop because they won't stop. That's not a strategy. That's a suicide pact dressed up as strategy. And you've heard the same logic your whole life in different clothes. We can't cut emissions because China won't. We can't raise wages because our competitors won't. We can't regulate because the market won't like it. Every time somebody tells you we have no choice, ask who benefits from you believing that, because somebody always does. And you don't have to wait for AI to see this pattern running in real time. As I'm recording this, US intelligence is telling us that Vladimir Putin may be preparing a limited strike on a NATO country, not to win a war, but to test whether the alliance will hold together enough to stop him. Not to win, to probe. Same machine, same logic. We can't stop because they won't stop isn't a metaphor. It's this week's headlines. Let me tell you something about the physicists who built the atomic bomb. One of them, Leo Szilárd, was the man who, in 1939, sat down with Albert Einstein and helped write the letter to Franklin Roosevelt that convinced the United States to start the Manhattan Project. Szilárd was terrified that the Nazis would get the bomb first, so he helped start the race. 6 years later, in the summer of 1945, with the bomb built and Germany already defeated, Szilárd tried to stop the United States from using it on Japan. He circulated a petition among the Manhattan Project scientists asking President Truman not to drop the bomb on Japanese cities. It never reached the president. The bomb dropped. Szilárd spent the rest of his life warning about what he had helped create. The people who quit the AI labs today to warn about extinction risk, Szilárd was their template, same pattern, same regret, same too late. And Petrov wasn't the only near miss. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962, a Soviet submarine, the B-59, was being harassed by American depth charges. The crew believed nuclear war had already started above them. The submarine carried a nuclear torpedo. 3 officers had to agree to launch it. 2 of them wanted to. The third, a man named Vasili Arkhipov, refused. The torpedo stayed in the tube. That is how close we came. 2 men, 2 rooms, 2 decisions. That is the entire margin between the arms race and the end of the world. Now I know that's a lot, and you might be thinking, this is about huge things. Bombs, nations, AI. What does it have to do with me? It has everything to do with you, because the same logic, we can't stop because they won't stop, isn't just running between superpowers. It's running inside your paycheck. It's running inside the price of the shirt on your back. And in the next walk, I want to show you what happens when this same machine is aimed at something as small as your rent. Next walk, a fight you showed up hungry for.